Welcome in, Bills Mafia, and welcome back to another edition of the Go Bills podcast. I am joined by my father and fellow Bills Mafia member. His name is Mike. He is joining me for our halftime report of the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills game today. How are you today, Dad?
Well, I was better at the early part of the game than I am now. I'm still a little nervous, still a little shaken by the missed opportunities from the Bills, but they're a second half team, and they're still, I think, in the driver's seat. But I would love it if they just took a little of the pressure off.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because 2 interceptions by Josh Allen. One probably not his fault. One was a tip pass, but it was unfortunate, and he shouldn't have been forcing the ball in that situation to his receivers. He should be taking what the defense gives him overall. But overall, the first half started off very good for Buffalo. Good touchdown to Dawson Knox, followed by a James Cook run, and then the field goal by Tyler Bass. So it was a really good start, up 17-0, and then Buffalo has been letting the Miami Dolphins back into the game a little slowly, and then a couple of interceptions later, and now it was a tied game, 17-17. Buffalo was able to drive down the field, get the field goal by Tyler Bass, and we are up 20-17 at the half. Not the half that we were looking for. We thought that we were going to come out of it with an easy lead, but unfortunately we weren't able to.
A couple things, though. First of all, let me rewind the tape right to the beginning and say, I'm so proud of you, everything you're doing with this podcast. When you were born and I dedicated you a Bills fan in front of that stadium in the background and everything, I couldn't imagine that someday you'd sit here and be doing this type of thing. So I'm very, very proud of you. Second of all, back to Josh and his turnovers. It's not his fault, but it is. There's something to be said about game management, not forcing stuff into windows when you don't have to. You're up 17-9, and then you throw into what looked like to at least be close coverage, if not double coverage. So a little less of that sort of thing. Now, the same thing that makes him spectacular is what I'm criticizing, but he needs to just manage the game a little better, I think. My personal opinion. I know all the Bills fans out there, Bills Mafia, don't blame me. I love the spectacular stuff he does, but if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And there's just something to be said about game management.
Yeah, I agree with you there. You're exactly right in that situation. How much of this do you think has to affect maybe Isaiah McKenzie being out? They're putting in Cole Beasley, and he hasn't really been effective in this game. 0 catches so far in the game. A couple of balls thrown his way, but no catches in this game. Do you think that Cole Beasley might be having a little bit of an effect on the game?
I do. I think that this could be a timing issue. But see, Josh is super smart. I mean, that's the one thing that I don't think he gets enough credit for. He's very, very smart. I mean, he memorizes a playbook and then handshakes for every player on the team. He's super smart. He should know, okay, our timing's not quite there, and not throw those type of balls, not force it into those type of windows and stuff. On the other hand, as much as everybody else out there, I love his confidence and his cockiness to go for it. I mean, it's a great thing until it bites you.
Completely agree with you there. That's a good one. Good analogy there from the Jaws, bringing it back to the 1980s. I love that metaphor there. Till it bites you. It's kind of been that mentality throughout the season where it's good for Josh. There's a good Josh, and then he bites you. And then it's just at the wrong time. And it happens quite often for the Bills. But unfortunately, this is the situation for the first half of Buffalo, keeping them back into the game. The Miami Dolphins get the ball to start the half, and it's not the way that I would like to see it. But I know Buffalo, like you said, is a second half team. They're more of a closer type of team than they were last year, which is a really good thing compared to last year. So we got to take the good with the bad in those situations.
And Leslie Frazier is great for halftime adjustments with the defense.
Yeah.
I expect more out of the defense in the second half than I thought they played good in the first half, but I think it's going to even be better in the second half. So I'm still optimistic, always hopeful and everything, but I could use a little less stress on the ticker, at my age.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I'm catching up with you, Dad, so don't worry about that.
No, it doesn't work that way, son. You should have paid more attention in math class. Let's go to some of the stats of the first half, huh?
Let's do that. Yeah, I really like that. So Josh Allen is 14 of 23 for 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions in the first half. Leading the way rushing is James Cook, 7 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. And then we have Stephon Diggs leading the way, already over 100 yards in the first half, 7 catches for 114 yards. And it's been a battle for Stephon Diggs. He's battling Xavier Howard, he has 114 yards, but Xavier Howard is playing some really good ball in this game. And he struggled in the first couple of games of the season, but he's coming back and he's playing really well.
He struggled in the first part of this game and everything. And as soon as I said that, he turned it around and came up with huge plays. That's the only reason Miami's in this.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. He's had 8 interceptions a few years ago, all-pro cornerback, and he is showing why Miami is getting their money's worth with him as a cornerback. And he's signed I believe it was around $60 million contract with the Miami Dolphins, 4 years or so, and he's well worth his money. So I really like him for the Miami Dolphins. Also, Jason Sanders has been keeping them in the game as well. 3 kicks on the game, and he's one of the reasons why.
That's just because the wins aren't up at the Ralph. I mean, sorry. What stadium is it now?
It's Highmark Stadium.
It's always the Ralph to me.
It's always the Ralph.
But the wins aren't there. He wouldn't be kicking that good if there was some wins. So maybe we can get some wins in the second half.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Let's go over to the defense. Let's talk a little bit about the defense. Leading the way in the tackling department is Matt Milano. He has 4 tackles, 2 of them assists. And then Boogie Basham has a sack as well. And then so does Matt Milano as well. So the linebackers as well as the defensive line have done a really good job of getting to the quarterback. But I want to see a few more sacks in this game, especially with a banged-up offensive line for the Miami Dolphins.
You know, I don't think that they're I think in this situation with this type of a quarterback, I would bring just a little more pressure. I mean, I'm a huge Leslie Frazier fan and everything, so I don't really want to criticize him, but I think it brings just a little more pressure, give him a little. I think he's due for mistakes if you bring the pressure.
Yeah.
They're leaving a little bit too much on the table, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And then in the first half, the first quarter, Buffalo was doing a really good job at the line of scrimmage with their secondary of using the press man coverage like we talked about in the pregame show with the Nickel City Mafia and Red, White, and Bills. We talked about it. We said that press man coverage is going to cause for Skylar Thompson to not be as comfortable because what it does is, and I'm going to show it on my dad, what you do is you press him right here and it disrupts the timing of the route. So when you do press him, he's going to kind of stumble a little bit. He's kind of going to stumble already because he's having a few Michelob Ultras, which is not the official beer of the Buffalo Bills, by the way. It is the best, so I'm kind of disappointed that he has that. He's going to be stumbling a little bit, and then he goes down the field, and it disrupts the timing of the throw. And that's what Buffalo was doing a really good job of in the first quarter. However, in the second quarter, they started playing that man cut or the zone coverage instead. And what did it do? It bit you. So,
there was a great example of that against Tyreek Hill early in the, I think the first quarter and stuff of that press coverage and just interrupting the timing and everything.
Yeah, it was mostly him and Waddle as well. You can see when Buffalo has a really good secondary, especially with having Tre'Davious White back to almost his all-pro self. I don't think he's quite to the level that he was before the injury, but it's good to have Tre'Davious White back as well as a secondary that's starting to get healthier right now, especially with Micah Hyde potentially coming back maybe next week or if not the week after, which would really help this Bills secondary in the passing game because when Buffalo gets a lead, they are really good at getting the lead, and then the opposing team cannot get the ball deep down the field because our defense is doing a really good job in the passing game.
We have a question from a caller. Oh, it's me. Question: how serious is Dane Jackson's injury, and how much will that affect what's going on in the second half?
That's a good question. And right now, Dane Jackson has a knee injury. He's questionable to return. And he's the only Bills player that is injured right now. So I do expect him to come back. That's my personal opinion. I think it might have been just a little bit of a tweak in the knee. So I do expect him to come back in the second half. Hopefully he gets a touchdown return off of an interception because that would be awesome to see, especially with his brother and Damar Hamlin, who he played with at Pitt, and he was a longtime friend of him. It would be great to see the number 3 get an interception for him. or number 30, I'm sorry, get an interception for 3. I said it wrong. But number 30 getting an interception.
You were never good at math.
I was never.
Stay in your lane.
Never. I went to public school. I have a public school education, so I apologize
that's all
about
I could
that.
afford. Stay in your lane.
Yeah, exactly. But let's go to what could the Bills do in the second half to fix these issues that they have?
In my opinion, on the defensive side, they have to just bring a little more pressure, and then on the offensive side, manage it and just take what is given. It's a little more, use his legs more and stuff like that. Just take what's given. Play it a little more conservative. I know that's distasteful for all of them Bills Mafia out there to hear and everything. I don't blame you for being upset and thinking that I don't know what I'm talking about. But just manage this game a little bit better, a little less risk when you don't have to take risk. When you're up 17-9, you don't have to take the risk that make it tied at the half. I mean, I'm glad they got the field goal, but it could have been tied at the half. So
right. I completely agree with you there, but there's a good analogy that Bruce Arians says, no risk it, no biscuit. And I really like that mentality. But in these situations, I do agree it's playoff football. Don't take the risk. You won't get the biscuit, but take what the defense gives you, and then you can keep the drive moving and live to fight another day.
You're balancing no risk it, no biscuit against risk reward. I mean, so you could debate this type of philosophy all day. And then in the second half, he'll force 8 balls in and score 3 more touchdowns, and I'll look like a fool. And I'm okay with that. I just think that, in the situation in the first half, he should have been just a little more able to take what the defense was giving him.
I completely agree with you there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on social media. You can find us on all of our 5 different social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as our new website, gobillspodcast.com. And don't forget to join us after the conclusion of the Bills game on YouTube as well. You can find us immediately following the game. We will have our post-game show if the Bills are winning. If not, we're probably going to move it over to Monday, and then we'll have that show with the Nickel City Mafia as well as Red, White, and Bills. But stay tuned for that. This has been the Go Bills podcast, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Go Bills podcast. As always, go Bills, and let's get a win today.